Hello everyone and welcome to the studio. If you're new here, then hello, my name is Megan, and today I'm going to be doing a drawing using only Crayola crayons. On my Instagram, I had a poll up asking which reference you would like me to use for this video, and the results are that the strawberry dessert one won. Don't worry, I'll be using the limes for another video though. But let's dive in. The paper that I'm going to be using today is the Strathmores Charcoal paper. It's an extremely thin paper, only 64 pounds, but it has a lot of texture, and that's something that I wanted for this piece because with crayons, it's kind of hard to do a lot of layering because they're so waxy. By the way, I will have the reference photo linked in the description box below if you happen to be interested in checking it out for yourself. Right now, there isn't too much to talk about since I'm just sketching out the image onto my paper, but I will say that I am using the grid method. I like to use this method and it's my preferred method of doing pieces. At this moment, I was a little concerned about how I was going to be able to get the little like seed parts of the strawberry in because you can't get too much detail with crayons. There's only so, it's only so much that you can get with a crayon, but I was a little nervous about that, and that's the part of the painting that the drawing that that I really don't like that much, but it's not too bad, I guess. Let me know if you've ever drawn something in crayons other than when you were like maybe a little kid. Have you tried to do a finished piece kind of thing with crayons? If not, I think you should give it a try. It was a lot of fun. If you do try that, I would recommend that you use something other than like a piece of copy paper. You can totally use copy paper if that's what you would like to use or that's all that you have lying around, but I just want to let you know that that's probably not going to be able to take as many layers as you would get with something that has more texture. And that's because crayons are made out of wax, and when you have too much wax sitting on top of each other, it gets to a point where you really can't add more color. And that's because of the wax bloom that builds up. You get the same thing that happens with like Prismacolor wax pencils or any kind of wax pencils. Layering is a technique that I love to use in my artwork, and if you're the same way but you only have a really smooth textured paper, I would recommend using a light hand and working your way up to a heavier pressure. I recommend that process anyway, but especially if you're working on a paper that's pretty smooth. In this time lapse, what you're seeing here is me building up layers like I was speaking of, and I wanted to start with the lighter colors first and work my way up to the darker colors, but I had to remember to keep a really light hand because if I pressed down and I destroyed the tooth of the paper or the texture of the paper too fast, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to layer up any more colors. And I had a few spots on this drawing where I wish I could have went darker, but the wax was, it was just too waxy at that point and I couldn't layer anything else up. So when you're doing your pieces, keep that in mind. My goal for this piece was to try to get it as realistic as I possibly could. Now, whenever I'm trying to do realism, my number one goal is trying to get really nice contrast and trying to get the shadows and highlights fairly accurate. Now, I'm not trying to follow the reference to a T, but I do like to try to make it at least somewhat similar. So my number one tip on realism is to try to get that contrast in. If your highlights and shadows look great, you can make your colors honestly whatever. It'll still look realistic because of the highlights and shadows. Values, that's the word I'm looking for. The values are what can make or break a picture if you're going for realism. Also, I never went to art school and I wasn't taught art professionally, but I'm just telling you what works for me, so take my opinions with a grain of salt. I'm not really qualified to teach anything. But anyway, since I'm working with crayon, I was a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to get a super realistic look because I'm not able to get too much fine detail with the crayons. Now, if I was going to be able to use something else with this piece, and I was going to use it, but I decided to just stick with crayons, I would have went in with some like white gouache or something to do some really bright highlights on the strawberries. However, I wanted to keep this piece just a crayon drawing in my sketchbook thing here, and I felt like it would be cheating if I went and used a different medium. Also, I want to mention that using gouache on top of something that's extremely waxy, it has a higher chance of flaking off in the future. So I really didn't want to do that anyway. I knew it was going to come off at some point, so I just kept it off. I hope the way I'm saying crayon is not weird for you. I know a lot of people say different things like crayon or crown. Let me know in the comments how you pronounce it. I would be really interested to see that. Where I'm from, I'm in Texas and I say crayon, but also sometimes I say crown. I guess either or. I guess that's just like another tomato instance. So yeah. Anyway, I haven't used crayons in a long time. I got this box of them a few years back, and I broke a few, and I never used them after that. You know what's funny? I actually had no crayons break on me during this piece, and I was expecting some of them too. I guess it's because I was trying to work pretty light so I could get in as many layers as I could, but I'm actually really proud of that, and I'm glad because every time I break a crayon, it actually like breaks my heart. If I break any art supply, I don't know, it just kind of hurts me. Even though crayons are really cheap, you can find these at the store for like anywhere from like 50 cents to like maybe $2 or $3. The specific pack that I have of like the 120, however many I have, it's at Walmart for around $7. I'm rounding up with like tax and stuff. And the pad of paper that I'm using is roughly $9. So for all of what I'm doing, you can make this in under $20. Give or take. So I guess this could also be classified as a cheap art supply challenge. I don't know. If you would like to see more cheap art supply challenges, let me know. I'm not going to be using those Crayola watercolors. I've tried them and I hate them. But I would like to try other Crayola products and see what I can make with them. I think that that would be really fun. I also think that I want to do more crayon drawings. I had a lot of fun with this. It was actually pretty relaxing. And I think I had a lot more fun with it because I know that it's not an expensive art supply. I sometimes feel like when I'm using expensive mediums that, man, I'm gonna ruin it, or I'm gonna waste the paint, or I'm gonna, you know, what I make is gonna be like a waste of paper. What if I mess up? And using something that, you know, you can find at a dollar store, I don't know, it was kind of freeing in a way. Speaking of dollar stores, there's a new one that's opening up pretty close to where I live, and it's like a gigantic store, and I'm actually kind of excited for it. And I know that's probably a really weird thing to be excited about, like, woohoo, a dollar store's opening up. But I'm actually really excited because I want to know if they have any art supplies that are really cheap that I can try out, and I'm excited for that. I think it's funny that a lot of the art supplies that are marketed towards kids draw my attention because of how colorful it is. And sometimes I wish that the professional grade things would also kind of, you know, have something that looks a little more fun. When I use products, I really want to use something that makes me want to use it. And like the colorful packaging is something that really like catches my eye. But I know they do that for like kids and stuff. So maybe I'm just still a kid at heart. I don't really know, but yeah, that's just my little thoughts on that. I'm sorry I'm not talking too much about what I'm doing. I've pretty much covered all that I can really talk about, but I hope you were able to kind of follow along and see what I was doing. We're at the end here, and I'm gonna go ahead and mention that if you would like to follow me here on YouTube, please consider subscribing. I'm really new here on YouTube. I've only been here for probably about like maybe 2 or 3 months now, so I'm pretty new. I'm an art channel here, if you couldn't tell. I like to do a lot of art stuff, and I'm really interested in doing like cheap art supply challenges and trying out other art supplies and different art mediums. So if you're interested in that, click the subscribe button. Also tap that notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I make another upload. And if you would like to stay connected with me, go and check out my other socials, which are my TikTok account, Instagram, Artfol, and my Redbubble shop, all of which will be linked in the description box below. So this is the finished piece, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like down below so that way I know that you did. Also consider commenting, that would be grand. If you would like to see me work more with crayons, let me know, and I'll try to do a lot more videos like this. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and remember, stay creative and be kind.